This morning, I woke up to an emptiness, like a hollow space in my chest where motivation and inspiration used to live. I laid there staring at the ceiling, feeling as though I was drifting, untethered, through the fog of my own life. But it wasn't exhaustion or even frustration, it was something much deeper, a quiet, unexplainable sadness. As I stared at the ceiling, I replayed the past year like a highlight reel of unmet goals. Because you see, I had spent all of 2024 grinding, balancing the demands of new motherhood with an ambitious career and the uphill battle of growing a YouTube channel that still wasn't even monetized. On top of that, I'd taken on an advisory role for a startup, trading time I barely even had for equity that might maybe pay off someday, but most likely and statistically speaking will probably just be completely wasted time. All of this time that I have spent pouring into projects that had such slim chances of succeeding started to feel more and more like a gamble of my time than an investment of it, because it had been a year of relentless effort, but today was the first time in a long time that it hit me like a ton of bricks that I had absolutely nothing to show for any of it. But it's ironic really, because my YouTube channel is all about motivating people, encouraging them to push through obstacles and chase their dreams. Yet here I am questioning my very own dream. But this created for me an identity crisis. What gave me the right to inspire any of you when I felt like I was barely even treading water? How could I tell others to keep going when I was sitting there wondering if I myself should just give up? But as I lay there, lost in my thoughts, another truth began to creep in. A small, steady voice whispered, no one ever arrives at where they are going. If they did, they'd actually just be on their deathbed. Because you see, the goalposts in life are always moving. Even if I had achieved every single goal I set for 2024, by the time I would have achieved them, I would have already found new ones to chase. Because that's the nature of ambition. It's relentless, and it's easy to forget that the journey itself is the very point of existence. But if we were where we are trying to get in life, we'd all just be in a graveyard, because that's where we're ultimately heading. And if we were constantly moving the goalposts and never allowing ourselves to enjoy the moment, life becomes empty, it becomes hollow, depressing, and meaningless. But then in that moment, in that realization, I thought about something I often tell my younger brother when he's feeling stuck. I always say to him, don't ever compare yourself to others. Instead, compare yourself to who you were a year or two ago. So I did just that. I forced myself to think back to the beginning of 2024, to the person I was then. But what I realized surprised me. Because first, I thought of my daughter, who was born in the middle of 2024. Becoming a mother had been my biggest fear in life, because I grew up without good examples of loving parents, and I worried that I wouldn't know how to nurture, how to be patient, how to love in the way a child deserves. But somehow it really just came naturally, and my daughter became a source of joy, motivation, love, and inspiration I didn't even know I was capable of. That alone is a success that no title, no paycheck, or amount of followers could ever rival. But then there was my career. Because I had actually received a significant raise and promotion to director in 2024, making 2024 my highest paid year yet. The crazy thing is that just a few years ago, that promotion would have been the pinnacle of my dreams, a moment I'd imagined celebrating with champagne and pride for years. But when it actually happened, I barely even acknowledged it. It felt like a checkbox on a to-do list rather than a major achievement or milestone. That's what happens when the goalposts move without you noticing, because you forget to celebrate. You forget to feel pride in your achievements, because your mind is already expecting even more of you. But the truth is that I am only one title beneath an equity holding managing director, which if you work in consulting or finance, you know that is a very impressive achievement. And I didn't give myself credit for that when I woke up feeling defeated and demoralized this morning, as if I've done nothing in 2024. But it's funny how quickly accomplishments become baseline expectation, how easily we forget the dreams that once lit a fire under us as soon as they are actually within reach, or we actually achieve them. But then there was also my YouTube channel. No, it wasn't monetized yet, but in 2024, I'd finally found my niche and my voice. My subscriber count and engagement were steadily growing, but more importantly, I'd found consistency in the last quarter of the year, something I'd struggled with for so long, literally like years. Considering I was balancing a full-time career and motherhood, the fact that I was even keeping up with YouTube at all on a consistent basis, I should have considered that a triumph. I just hadn't given myself the credit for that as the accomplishment that it actually was. was. Reflecting on these examples made me realize that 2024 wasn't a year of failure, but it was a year of progress. This is the danger of unchecked ambition. It's like climbing a mountain where each peak reveals another higher summit. Because without moments of reflection to look back on all the peaks you've conquered behind you, you risk never feeling fulfilled, living in a perpetual state of not enough. But what I was experiencing is not unique. Psychologists have studied this phenomenon of persistence extensively, and their findings offer profound insights. Dr. Angela Duckworth's research on grit reveals that perseverance and passion for long-term goals are stronger predictors of success than talent or intelligence. Grit, as she defined it, is the ability to keep going even when the odds feel stacked against you. But grit isn't just a personality trait, it's something you can actually cultivate in your mind from nothing. Because neuroscience shows that each act of persistence rewires the brain, strengthening the neural pathways associated with resilience and problem solving. But what does this mean exactly? It means that every time I chose to push forward, every time you choose to push forward, you're not just working toward a goal, but you're literally rewiring your brain for success. But how do you do that though? Well, it's in the stories we tell ourselves. Persistence feels hardest when you're in the trenches because it's easy to compare yourself to others and feel like you're falling short. Social media doesn't help. It bombards us with highlight reels of people seemingly achieving success overnight, but success stories are rarely that simple. Take Thomas Edison. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Imagine the kind of resolve it takes to face 10,000 failures and keep going. Or J.K. Rowling, whose manuscript for Harry Potter was rejected by 12 publishers before it became a global phenomenon. But these stories aren't just anecdotes. They're reminders that persistence is the common thread in every extraordinary achievement. But still, let's be honest, persistence is exhausting. A study on goal achievement found that people are most likely to actually give up just before they succeed, a phenomenon known as last mile problem, because it's in those final stretches that the finish line feels invisible and the temptation to quit becomes overwhelming. But what separates those who succeed from those who don't? Well, it isn't a lack of doubt or a lack of fatigue, but it's the ability to keep going despite those very feeling. For me, that meant reframing setbacks as stepping stones. It meant finding pride in the small wins, even when the big goals felt distant. But the questions still remain. What gives me the expertise or credentials to talk about motivation and success here on YouTube when I myself am still very much just a work in progress that struggles to maintain my very own motivation? But then I realized something. The very thing that I was ashamed of, my struggle to keep the motivation alive, was the thing that the audience here on YouTube probably needed to see the most. Why? 2 reasons. First, because research actually supports this idea. A study found that students who read about the struggles of role models were more likely to persevere when they later faced their very own challenges. Because struggles don't diminish my credibility, they actually enhance it. But the second and more important reason is because most motivational speakers and productivity or finance YouTubers share their journey after they've already succeeded. They tell you about the struggles from the safety of their dream life. Every video you see from a productivity guru or a business guru is coming from them when they have a successful business or several hundreds of thousands of followers or even millions, and they are already on the other side of the journey. But that feels unrelatable, like they are so far ahead of you that you can never even dream of being where they are. We watch them in awe and wonder if perhaps they are the exception to the rule. But there is only so much motivation that you can draw from someone who appears to be an entirely different world ahead of you. Because there's something powerful about showing the struggle in real time, about saying, I'm here, still in the trenches, just like you, at the same time as you. And here's a window into my world for you to see in real time the grit and perseverance and mental gymnastics it takes for me to battle myself to keep going and push through towards my dreams. So this morning, I made a choice. Instead of giving up and taking yet another break from YouTube, I sat down and scripted and filmed this very video. Not as someone who's made it, but as someone who's still climbing, still figuring it out. Because a year ago, in the beginning of 2024, I would have taken a break. But now, at the start of 2025, I've learned to turn lemons into lemonade, to push through the moments when the motivation wanes, and to make myself show up for my dreams, even when I don't feel like it. Maybe this video can show you what that conversation with yourself can look like when you start to lose steam and motivation towards your very own dreams. Because hopefully in 1 year's time, you will see my channel boom and you will say, wow, I saw Miriam when she was ready to give up and now look at her. That's awesome, and that can be me in 1 year year from now too. So save this video, and next time you feel like giving up, you better watch it. Hopefully it gives you the slightest bit of encouragement to keep going, because persistence isn't glamorous. It's not a series of Instagram-worthy milestones. It's messy and grueling and often thankless, but it's also the force that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. And every time we choose to keep going, we're proving to ourselves and the world that we're capable of greatness. So keep going. Your future self will thank you. If you enjoyed this video, you should be sure to subscribe to my channel down below and watch this next video over here, which YouTube thinks you're really going to enjoy.